Welcome back to my favorite time in the month where we break down and discuss the sales totals of every single manufacturer. In today's video right now, I have more videos coming, but in this video, we're focusing on Toyota. If we look at Toyota, they're up 2.5% on the month of February. Overall, they are up, sorry, that was Lexus, because we're going to cover Lexus in this video too. But overall, Toyota was up 3.3%. If you include Lexus, 3.2%. On the year, they're up 5.6%. And they're outperforming the market. Well, let's be clear. The market that is posting sales, because the overall market is going to be down. What you're seeing on the screen is probably the highest performers in the market. We don't have Ford. We don't have General Motors. We don't have Stellantis. Speaking of which, let's zoom out real quick. You might be able to see an orange vehicle behind the Kawasaki out there. Yeah, that's the new 6-pack Charger I'm driving this week. I can actually fit all my kids in there. Not all of them, but all the ones that go to school. And it's just ridiculous how much space is in a coupe. But yes, let's get into Toyota. If you're excited, not only for Toyota, but for all the manufacturers I'm going to cover in this month's update, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you like nerding out over sales figures of automakers. If you're just a fan of of cars in general, the car industry, I update you guys monthly at the beginning of every month. And let's dig our teeth or dig our feet into or sink our teeth into Toyota here. They've fallen off pace a little bit. You know, January was more like they're up 8-9%, something like that. This month, they're only up 3%. What's mind-blowing is that their best-selling vehicle that the RAV4 is, okay, it's down over 50%. Why is the RAV4 down so much? Again, they're switching over production from the 5th gen to the 6th gen. They have 3 different plants around the world, Kentucky, Canada. Well, they assemble in 2 different manufacturing facilities in Canada, the RAV4, as well as Japan. There's this long, it's going to be probably the first half of this year, of switching over the RAV4 at all these plants that they have around the world. And the RAV4 is going to drag down Toyota sales. If the RAV4 was at full strength right now, so that would give Toyota an extra 20,000 units on the month. Okay. So they would be at 147,000 units divided by last year's 126. They would be up like 17%. Instead, they're only up about 3%. Even with the RAV4 being massively damaged in sales because of the switch over to production on the new model, Toyota is still positive. That's just the mind-blowing thing. That's how strong they are as a brand outside of their best-selling model. Okay, so let's start with Corolla, up 20%. That's a flex right there. Had an even better month than it did the month before. Rest in peace, Supra. The final ones are selling here. GR86, really bad sales. You know, it's just not the sports car market for that vehicle, I would say. It's a very niche product. Mirai, I always say Mirai whatever. Crown, up 68%. And again, the Crown Signia is on sale in Japan now, and that's why the sales are down here, because they can only make so many of them, and they're prioritizing the Japanese market and maybe even the European market if it's sold over there. I'm not quite sure. But the Crown, yeah, it's up 68%, the sedan version. The Prius down 35%. Why? The Prius is, again, going through recalls because of the rear door handles. Camry up 20%. How is that possible? Camry is burning hot. I just reviewed the Camry XSE. Check out my review on it. Love the car. Gosh, I'm driving an S5 this week as well as the Charger, and I would take a Camry over both of them. But it's not because I'm a fanboy. It's just the Camry's it just works so well as just a daily driver, and it's just so well-rounded. All right. Anyways, the Camry is just such a fantastic car overall. And let's see here. Let's keep moving on to Toyota crossovers. The BZ. The BZ's up 92%. Why? Well, they refreshed it. And the crazy thing is that you have this perfect environment right now of Tesla defectors or falling away from the brand. And Toyota actually has a good EV now. The BZ, it did. And what I mean, the BZ4X specifically, when it launched, it was under-spec'd, not great range. Software was pretty bad. It's still not great. Charging was bad on it. Not that much power for the money, but it handled well, it was comfortable, materials are good, etc. It just was underbaked. Now it's been baked properly, and it's a good EV now. It's not the greatest EV of all time, but it's going to be super reliable, no maintenance on other than tire rotations and new tires. Like the BZ is a great car and you can get great discounts on them. And so this is the year where Toyota cements itself as a solid EV provider for people who want them. A lot of people say I'm anti-EV. A lot of people say I'm way too pro-EV. It's good to be somewhere in the middle. And Toyota's EVs just work. They're not overly complicated. They're built really well. They're all built in Japan until the new Highlander comes that's built in Kentucky. It's just a fantastic ecosystem. Well, I should say Toyota's EVs, it's a fantastic lineage of EVs at this point. Whether they're built by Subaru as in the Woodland or the rest of them by Toyota, they're all really good. EVs don't work for everyone for obvious reasons, but for city driving cars, they're probably the best if you just drive around town most of the time. And you can charge at home. If you can't charge at home, forget about them. RAV4, it's going to be rough until the second half of this year. Watch my pricing video on the new RAV4 plug-in hybrid. It's way lower. The prices are way lower than I was expecting by like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Corolla Cross. Finally, the Corolla Cross is coming into its own. You know, it got refreshed this year. I have issues with the pricing of it. And if you look, because Toyota also shows us hybrid sales, the Corolla Cross hybrid sales are bad. And it's not because they're not highly desired or sought after. It's because the Corolla Cross, it's somewhere in here, I will find it, is, you know, look, it's down 66% on the month. There's just none being built. Toyota's like, okay, we're going full ham. And maybe it has something to do with emissions regulations and CAFE, that they don't need to produce as many as that they were producing before. But I'm telling you, the demand is still high for a hybrid Corolla Cross. But Toyota's like, let's just keep the prices low. Let's crank volume out of that plant in Alabama. And we know Mazda's doing the same. I'll do another video on Mazda later today or tomorrow in the coming days. So stay tuned for my news update on Mazda, because the CX-50 is built there and the CX-50 is going ham on the market right now. Here we have the Corolla Cross up 43%, making up, again, like the Corolla and the Camry up 20% respectively. Okay, because of those cars, Crown's volume is so low, doesn't matter. But because of those cars, it's making up for some of that huge loss, again, of the RAV4 that's down about 20,000 units so far. Well, for the month, but it's down about 40,000 or 35,000 units or so on the year so far. It's massively down. Okay, but let's keep going from the Corolla Cross. Sales are doing good there. Crown Signia down, I already explained that. Venza, rest in peace. Highlander, up 35%. My theory is here, okay, because the Highlander is going to leave. Well, I mean, the production of Highlander is going to leave Indiana and go to Kentucky at the end of this year to build the Highlander EV. And I think why the Highlander's up so much right now is that they're like, okay, we kind of have like these Highlander parts that we need to use and get rid of before we just discontinue any Highlander standard model that has a gas engine. So they're just, I think, clearing out the parts bin. That's my theory on why the Highlander's been up so much. And I would expect later on in the year, second half of the year, that production is just going to start winding down as they fully cancel it and move it to Kentucky at the end of the year for the new Highlander EV. Grand Highlander up 21%. Absolutely slaying up. It's up 40% on the year of the Grand Highlander. Again, making up for the lost sales of the RAV4 right now. 4Runner, it's up almost 700%. They weren't making any of these. Again, they're all made in Japan. The 4Runner, not only was it delayed, but they couldn't get the production right on it, or there was some sort of quality control issues on the 4Runner when it was beginning to be produced. But right now they're selling ass loads of 4Runners. Crazy amounts. So they're on pace right now to sell about 120,000. 120,000 4Runners. Now, peak was about 140,000 a few years back with the 5th gen 4Runner, but the 6th gen 4Runner is like making up for lost time. Okay, so again, when the RAV4 is not performing well, now you have the 4Runner making up for lost time, and it's just incredible. Again, joining forces with the Camry, the Corolla. What else did I say was doing well? Like the Highlander, the Grand Highlander, all these models contributing to Toyota being positive. Even the Sequoia's up. I wish I took a picture of it, but I saw the coolest looking Sequoia, or the newest generation Sequoia I've ever seen. The tires were so big on it, they pretty much filled the wheel wells. It may have been lifted, but it looked just proper. Okay. And the wheels were popped out of the side just a little bit, maybe an inch or two. And it was kind of like that. I forget what the color is called, but it was like that dark brown color, and the wheels were bronze too. It looked amazing. Okay. So Sequoia doing great. Hasn't been hit with the twin turbo V6 recalls. And someone told me recently that the twin turbo V6 Toyota replaced the main bearing on all production of new twin turbo V6s. So it is what it is. It's hard to keep up with that twin turbo V6 story. Land Cruiser, not sure what's going on here. I don't, it could be something to do with the 8-speed automatic not being reliable. I don't know. I honestly don't know why the Land Cruiser sales are down so much. Maybe they are prioritizing 4Runner because they are produced in the same plant, in the Tahar plant, if I remember correctly. Sometimes the Land Cruisers are built in the Toyota auto body area, but yeah, the sales have fallen off a cliff for the Land Cruiser. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? It's them prioritizing Lexus GX. Because GX is higher demand than the Land Cruiser with the twin turbo V6 versus the Land Cruiser's hybrid, and higher profit margins on the GX. That's what I'm going to step out on a limb and say. It's about prioritizing the GX. We look at the GX. The GX is up 30%. Exactamundo. So let's get into the Sienna's maxed out in production volume for now, because once the Highlander leaves, Grand Highlander and Sienna production will increase out of Indiana. So Sienna is up just slightly on the month and the year. Demand for the Sienna is still outrageous. No one's figured out. I mean, Kia's close. Kia's still not quite as efficient. I'm waiting for Kia's 2-motor hybrid, next-gen 2-motor hybrid to come into the Carnival. And that's really going to give the Sienna a run for its money. Maybe not in efficiency, but for it'll have better performance and it'll have better MVH. Meaning the engine will be way quieter than the Sienna's hybrid setup. But the Sienna is still probably going to be the king of efficiency, just not efficiency and performance. Or if we look at the Tacoma broke an all-time sales record last year, and it's already up 20% this year. They must be moving in an enormous amount of fleet sales for the Tacoma. That's my theory. The Tacoma, it's just the volume. I can't wrap my head around it. Up 20% on the year, up 33% on the month. It is outselling, at 22,000 units, it's outselling the Corolla. What world are we living in where the Tacoma is outselling the Corolla? It outsold the RAV4. It is Toyota's third best-selling car, just behind the Camry. Again, it outsold the Camry's sales of last year. All right, the Tacoma is just printing money. Well, I don't know if it's printing money, but they're printing them out of the 2 plants in Mexico like there's no tomorrow, the Tacoma. And how much of that is retail and fleet, I'm not sure. Tundra, up 4%. Maybe the quality control, like I mentioned on the engine, other issues with the truck is improving, and they're getting that volume up out there. Take a potty break if you need to, hit the pause button, but we're going to jump right into Lexus, and it's a bloodbath for their cars. The IS had a great month. Had a great month in January as they sold out of the previous generation, or should I say the previous refresh IS. The new IS isn't in volume yet. If it was in high volume, these sales would be in the positive, the newly refreshed IS. Some people don't like the front end. I think it's a side grade. I think in some ways it looks better and worse at the same time than the previous front end of the IS. That's just my personal take. But the rest of the car is better in every way, meaning the interior is just a quantum leap compared to the old interior of the IS. RC, rest in peace. ES, rest in peace for now. I will be driving it. I think I can say this now. I will be driving it in May. I'll give you my driving impressions on the car. Now, it did launch in China, or at least it's on showcase in China. You got to keep in mind the ES is focused for the Chinese market. It's launching as a BEV with a hybrid alternative. The BEV is the focus on the new ES. It's always had a V6 or a hybrid, as in recent memory, a hybrid. Since like 2012 or something, it's had a hybrid alternative, but it's always had a V6. Now there's no V6 whatsoever, and it's BEV or monospec, or in certain markets, you might be able to get front wheel drive hybrid. I would assume most markets will be all wheel drive hybrid standard for the ES, but no hybrid max, no plug-in hybrid. It's a really big missed opportunity, in my opinion, for a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid max Lexus ES. Maybe they'll bring it in the future, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. It's a small niche product, and its focus is China. I think they sell like 6 times more ESs in China than they do in the United States. The ES, even though it's a combination of the LS, the ES, and the GS too, rest in peace GS. It's just an ES in naming only, because it's nothing like the true sedan version of the ES, the new ES. It's its own thing with the name of the ES, because it's evolved into something more like the Crown, but it is bigger than the Crown even. All right, so yeah, Lexus car sales, as we're waiting for the new ES to come in. Their car sales are and the refreshed IS. Their car sales is just a bloodbath, and it will be a bloodbath for the next year. I will say there will be a new IS EV. We'll see if they called it an IS, but it's about the same size of an IS. Is that going to help sales a whole lot? No, it won't, because people or buyers in that segment have all flocked to, like BMW, for example. They want internal combustion, high performance, small, sporty sedans and coupes. And Lexus just has completely given up on that. So rest in peace, LC500. Last production, I think, is end of September for my favorite Lexus of all time that I've driven. Have never driven the LFA. Let's go to Lexus crossovers, because Lexus, let me pull up some of these numbers here. Lexus had its best February ever of all time. And so far, it is pacing its best year ever. You got to remember, in 24, they broke an all-time sales record in the US. In 25, they broke that record again. So right now, Lexus is pacing its 3rd record-breaking year, which is mind-blowing. Again, if we look at Lexus so far on the year is up 8% on a volume basis. Again, this month was only up 2.5%, and they had as many selling days this month as they did last month. So here we go with the Lexus UX. Lexus UX going to be done, ended. I have confirmation, and these timelines can change, but look at the sales; they're abysmal. Just watch my language. I almost said the F-bomb. The UX makes me upset because it was just kind of brought into our market, but it was focused for the European market, and it did well there until the LBX came out and completely killed the UX, and now we don't get the LBX. The UX is going to be discontinued by the end of this year and replaced, I don't know when, but with something that looks like a baby GX. Maybe they'll call it the UX, maybe they'll call it something altogether different. Maybe they call it LUX. Maybe call it LUX for luxury, or but Lexus utility crossover. Okay. UX currently stands for urban crossover or urban explorer. Maybe they come out with the Lexus utility crossover, the LUX. I think that would be amazing. Lexus just started using 3-letter names and things like the LBX. So maybe they use a new 3-letter name. Maybe they keep the UX, but we don't know if it's going to be an EV. It would make sense with how Lexus is going if they're still going to double down as a fully electric company, which I think is stupid, because their hybrids are just printing money. And because of the hybrids, they've broken sales records 2 years in a row now. So if they give up on hybrids for fully electric, which the market is not asking for it, and even in Europe or especially the United States, then we'll see what they do. But just like the ES offer, a battery electric version of the UX and a body, if it is body on frame, offer a turbo 1.5 or something. Okay, I just don't know what they're going to do with it, but anything is better than the UX. Anything is better for the UX to be replaced with. And I think most of you would agree. Okay, some of you love your UXs out there, but it's just not good for our market. Having a baby GX would break the entry-level luxury market. So hopefully we'll see that reveal soon, before the end of the year. Lexus NX. Its second best-selling vehicle, Lexus, it's down 25%. Not sure why. It could remember, the NX shares a plant and manufacturing facility with the RAV4 up in Canada. It could be affected by that switchover from previous gen RAV4 to the new RAV4. That's my theory. RZ, just like the BZ. Is there any BZ Woodlands? Any BZ? I don't think any BZ Woodlands have been sold yet. Otherwise, they would have been on this list. Okay, but the RZ is up 233%. Like the BZ's up, massively as well, almost 100%. RZ is doing okay. Again, You have these, not only has it been massively improved, but you have Tesla defectors going to other brands. Lexus RX, its best-selling vehicles up 30%. It's been out since 23. There's nothing new about the RX. It's just doing well. And where the UX and NX are giving up ground, the RX is succeeding. The TX is up 10%. The GX is up 30%. So while Lexus's sedans and coupes have all but disappeared, down about 50% on the month, their crossovers, okay, are up 14% to make up for that catastrophic loss of what used to be Lexus's identity as a sedan and coupe brand. Everything's crossovers, or at least for Lexus. BMW is more balanced, for example, but Lexus is all focused in on crossovers. It is what it is. That's where the money is for them, and they're going to follow that money pot. Okay, so Lexus and Toyota are up in a market that is starting to shrink. Thank you for watching. I got to get this video up and out, and then I got Honda, I got Hyundai, I have Kia, I have Subaru, and I have Mazda still left to get through. So let's get this video up, and I'll catch you in the next one. Maybe it'll be Honda. Yeah, I'll probably be Honda. Okay, so I can't wait to see how Honda's doing too. Thank you guys. I'll catch you in the next one, and peace.